What's up, friends? Welcome back to another episode of NFT 365, and we are back. Crypto is back. NFTs are back. Bitcoin is mooning. We got Coinbase breaking. We got Magic Eden dropping an Ethereum marketplace. We got Truth and Goblin Town merging and allowing equity to be bought. We got Pudgy Penguins in Walmart. We got SocialFi all over the Twitter feeds. And I have to say, if you're listening to this, thank you. And not only does it feel like the Web3 space is back, but you might have noticed, and if you didn't notice, it's okay. We're back, and I'm still figuring out what "we're back" means. But I kind of wanted to test out the reception for the podcast. Talk a little bit about where I think like everything is in the market, and then I think I'm going to save for another episode. Talk a little bit about everything that around the last 6 months for me, and the kind of some of the things that I was going through, and I'm sure many of you can relate, and we're going to talk about that. But the future of this show itself is something that I'm still figuring out what we want to do, and I'm open to suggestions. I know the name doesn't really match up. I know a lot of people have reached out to me and said, Brian, although it's called NFT 365, for the most part, you talk less just NFTs, more about Web3 as a whole and emerging technology and everything else that kind of goes in to everything that I love as far as where this whole space is. We talk a little bit about ADHD, we talk mental health, we talk AI art, of course, me dabbling in that arena for a while. And I have to say, the where the space went from where we started this podcast, right? We started this podcast 11/11/21. Wow, it's kind of crazy to think about that, right? And recording this one on Leap Day, which I figured, we're going to leap back into this. Haha, yeah, dad jokes are included. And now we're, the end of February of 2024. And so much has changed, yet really so much has stayed the same in many ways. I feel like the market as a whole, for many of us it was a good 18, 20 months of a bear market, and the bear market sucked. It sucked from a financial perspective. It sucked because good projects left. It sucked because I know a lot of you listeners probably were tuned out of this space. I even unplugged probably for the first time in my career from social and digital as a whole. And a lot of it had to do, to me, with more of a needed reset that we all needed to have. And the truth of the matter is resets aren't always fun or easy. And we'll dive into that more in a future episode as we can talk about the reset that we were forced to do with Mint 365 and NFT 365, which we'll talk about, ADHD coin, of course, that we had launched, and really where a lot of this is kind of going now. But I will say the conversations that I've been having over the last, I'd say the month of February. So let's put this in the month of February 2024 have been really interesting. For the first time in probably a year, I'm having brands, protocols, and even some large B2B plays reaching out to me, many of them reaching out via LinkedIn. And if you're not on LinkedIn, you should definitely be on LinkedIn. I know it sounds like a boomer thing to be, but people with money and people that are hiring and people that are looking to invest, a lot of them are on LinkedIn. They're not on Twitter Spaces. They're not in your TikTok feed. I wish they were, because TikTok's my favorite place to consume. But with all that being said, where we're moving forward, I think it's such an interesting reset, right? And I mentioned right at the start of the show a couple of the big, just the big news in the last couple of weeks, right? And I will tell you, if you feel overwhelmed with maybe you're listening to this and you're like, I'm not even sure if I want to jump back in to Web3, crypto, NFT, meme coins, AI, blockchain, you're not alone. And truthfully, and I'll be a little vulnerable here. I've recorded this podcast episode. I believe this is the 11th time, maybe the 12th. I think it's actually the 11th time. The first time I recorded an episode to kind of launch the podcast back for a new season was January 1st, because I was like, it's a new year, hey, I feel like, all the people getting back to a gym. And I will tell you, by the time I got about halfway through the episode, I kind of felt overwhelmed and confused myself. And so I decided, I was like, you know what, I need to dive back in to the space and get my own feet wet. And the truth of the matter is, there's so much has changed, as whereas like, are people using Discord now? And if I buy an NFT, what does that mean for the community? And should I buy legacy NFTs or new NFTs? And there's Bitcoin ordinals that are now out, and we have new marketplaces and old marketplaces, and Solana meme coins are something that I've been playing with a lot. And I will just say this, it's almost it sounds really bad because I know we've done this podcast now for going on 3 years. It's almost like we need to remember the things we learned, but be open to jumping in with almost an entirely fresh new start. One of the things that, people always talk about, you don't want to sell the bottom. And I know on this podcast, a couple of times I said, sometimes it's almost better to sell the NFTs that you're not getting value out of, or you're not part of their community of, even if you're selling at a loss, because then you can take that equity, you could take that ETH that you have, or that Solana that you have, or that Psi that you have, whatever it may be, and you can invest in something new. And I will say, I've been really examining where I spend my time. And I wanted to use this episode a little bit to talk about that from a standpoint of, a lesson that I think I learned from 2021 through 2023 was that, I made the concerted effort and the concerted decision to spread myself across as many projects as possible, right? We bought an NFT every single day for a year, 365 days across 18 plus blockchain marketplaces. We bought an NFT. And I will tell you, for me, it kind of left it to where I don't really have a home base for an NFT project, right? A lot of people feel super connected to a community. And I will tell you, I'm a little jealous. Actually, I'm a lot jealous. And I know many of you that still reach out, many of you were still connected and we're tweeting back and forth. And, some of you we're on Telegram group chats together. One of the things that, I for sure learned was that, it is kind of like one of those things where if you're dividing your time up about too many projects, you get a little bit of a lot of things, which to me turned out to be not enough to feel connected or have my people. And yes, there were some projects, many of them we interviewed guests here on the podcast, that I was more involved with than other projects, right? And unfortunately, some of them have disappeared, right? Some of them, some of them like rebranded and transformed. Some of them completely rugged or disappeared. And we have to be careful with that term rugged, because I think that's the other thing that we have to think about is there's a difference between rugged and like it just didn't work, right? Like the percentage of startups that are successful in the world is such a small amount, right? How many startups start and then fail? And I think a lot of these startup NFT projects, I think we should stop calling them projects and call them NFT startups. A lot of these NFT startups, generally failed, but there also are a lot that have really done some amazing things. And if you haven't been like fully dialed in the space, I think one of the things that I want to do with this podcast is talk from the angle of, you don't have to listen to every Twitter space. You don't need to be in every Discord. You don't need to be tracking everything. Maybe we'll be able to use this show to be kind of like the summary of all the things going on, so that you can stay on top of things, but also continue to kind of pick and choose where you spend your time. And, one of the big, I would say, tipping points this month was that Pudgy Penguins. And if you all remember, we minted little Pudgies when it minted way back there I believe it was in January of our Mint 365. So we still hold a little Pudgy in the Mint 365 wallet. And Pudgy Penguins, the main one, actually flipped the floor price of Bored Ape Yacht Club, which no one in their any mind would have ever imagined. And that was some massive news. And then we also got the big news recently that the the actual Bored Ape, Yuga Labs, the parent umbrella of Bored Ape, parent umbrella of Mutants, of Meebits, of 10K, they bought Moonbirds or Proof Collective, which includes Moonbirds, which was another big something. If you would have asked me, when we did our last episode of this show, if I thought Yuga would buy Moonbirds or Proof, I would say not a chance. If you would have asked me if Pudgy Penguins were going to flip Bored Ape Yacht Club, I would say no, not a chance. If you would have asked me if I thought Bitcoin ordinals would start to be making some pretty big headway as far as what that means for NFT space, I probably would have said not a chance. So although I am a futurist, a lot of things have kind of really taken shape here. And I will tell you, I think one of the reasons that is that a lot of these NFT startups are looking at what does it mean to scale? What does it mean to run? And I will tell you, as we ramp up to this next bull run, which I think we are very close to a bull run, if not the start of it right now, I think by summertime, will be the kind of the launch of our next bull run here in this space. I think one of the things that we learned was that projects being successful in a bull run is the it's the lottery, right? It's gambling. It's, hey, do your own damn research, but it's there's a good likelihood, hey, it's going to work. It's going to try out. It's going to happen. But, I will say one of the things that you want to think about, or you want to put into perspective for now, or for what we're doing moving forward, is that the NFT projects that are around and have a big team and investment, and I'll say like Goblin Town, Pudgy Penguins, Bored Ape Yacht Club, of course, Moonbirds we could throw in there, and then I'm going to throw in there, Killa Bears, a couple other projects that I can throw in, and we'll talk about as different things kind of go. But I will say one of the things that I found is everyone's trying to figure out a business model, right? And there's a couple different business models that are shaping out right now. One of them seems to be this equity play. One of them seems to be this airdrop play. And then another one of them seems to be this idea of not only IP, but like shared IP and kind of growth. And this kind of ties back into what I said earlier about, for me, not having one NFT project, like even my PFP, my profile photo, I was trying to think, like, if I had a pick out of all the NFTs that I currently own, what would be my PFP for like the next year? I don't own that NFT today. Now there's a couple projects, there's like 3 projects that come to mind. Two of them are brand new. And when I say brand new, within the last 3 to 6 months. And then one of them is an older project that I've always loved, but I've never owned. That would be like the project that I would want to commit myself to that community. With that being said, the space is really interesting in the sense of, for the first time, I feel like you have the opportunity to play in all different realms, right? So you have Solana meme coins. You have Ethereum, of course, meme coins or shit coins that exist. But you also have meme coins that are growing utility. Some of them are even emerging in the AI space. I will tell you one that you want to check out, and we're going to talk about it on the show for sure. Pepe Coins is launching a based AI project. So there's Pepe that is on the Ethereum blockchain as a meme coin that has a 1 billion market cap. But then there's Pepe Coins, or Pepe Coin, that was the kind of the original OG Pepe. That Pepe, their devs are building out based AI, which is an AI learning language model. And like, to me, like, some of these plays I'm telling you, some of the innovation that I believe is going to happen in the next 12 to 18 months will revolutionize not just Web3, the entire tech landscape. But interestingly enough, I don't think any of them that were being built in 2021, 2022, 2023, I don't believe any of them had that in mind or were on that pace or were building that at that time. Like, I believe, and this is something that I hate to say, I believe 2021, 2022, 2023, the NFT Web3 meme coin crypto space from an innovation perspective was too early. And we know that timing is essential, right? Innovation is great. Community and culture are important. But for not mass adoption, but for adoption to make sense, it has to be not just the right innovation or the right technology, but it has to also be the right time. And I think one of the things that we learned in the fall around Midjourney and ChatGPT and a lot of this AI piece was like, what is going to fund AI? What is going to how are we going to build out like the tokenomics of this creator economy that we all believed in? And I will tell you, there were some missing parts that we were not able to solve in 2021 and 2022 that I believe we are going to solve in 2024. Now, all of that being said, I also know that, as a bull run happens, there's going to be a lot of FOMO. There's going to be a lot of people jumping in and out of projects. There's going to be a lot of next best thing. And this is the 100X project. And I have to say, that excites most people. And there's an element of excitement for me on that, but it also has me a little bit concerned because, I am often afraid that we're going to make the same mistakes that we made previously, right? In previous years or with the previous bull runs. And even with like this most recent Bitcoin, Bitcoin yesterday rolled up from like 61K, it broke 60,000 and then it hit 63,000. And then within a matter of a minute, it dropped down to 58,000. And I will say like one of those like things that we, if you're listening to this show, have to think about is like, what is our risk portfolio? What are we looking to get out of this space? And I don't think I did a very good job of that in the last bull run. I was more spray out, like do my own research, but I was also investing in the idea of that we were early and we were building out something. And I will tell you, I'm more confident right now that the value of what we did in 2021, the value of buying an NFT every day and holding all of those NFTs, which we still hold to this day, if the value of that is only going to increase this next 12, 18 months, because we are now moving towards the idea of like, wow, most people like to be like, oh, CryptoPunks was the early days. And, we've had people on the podcast that talked about the original NFTs they bought in 2016, 2018. But the truth of the matter is, if we think about the curve, we were even too early back then. And so the thing that I'm like kind of wrapping my head around is we're going to be early in 2024. But the question is, now we're going to be early with the right time for innovation. The question will be, will innovation be rewarded? Will innovation be incentivized? And will innovation be something that people are excited about? And I don't know that answer right now. I can tell you I'm not 100% sold on, what that really means and how we move forward. So for me, that's what it's all about. Like, that's where we're going. That's the future. And so I'm excited for what we can build together. I said that I would never going away, right? And that didn't mean that we were going to pause. And I had no plans on the big pause that I had to take personally, starting in the summer of last year through the fall. And I'm still working through some things, personally and some things that, for me and my business and a lot of the things that I was excited about. But I truthfully can say the month of February sparked me back to think about all the amazing things we did as a community, as a culture, all the innovation that's possible. And I've never lost faith in Web3 or the creator economy or the power and the importance of the blockchain. But I will say, figuring out the business model for content, figuring out the business model for speaking in a space where people haven't even like kind of wrapped their mind around it, right? Like I went 7 months without one speaker inquiry about Web3 or NFTs. And just this week, I got two in this week alone of companies. And one's like a mortgage company that is interested in me coming out and speaking at their company about, what does Web3 mean for the mortgage industry and where should they be paying attention to? And that's like that's bullish sign in my view, in my opinion. So with that being said, with that like kind of mindset of what we're all at, I would love for, for anyone that wants to reach out, you can reach out, Twitter is probably the best place, or X, I still will call it Twitter. I'm iSocialFanz, the letter iSocialFanz, FANZ with the Z at the end. Send me a DM or send me a tweet. What are your thoughts on the show? What are your thoughts on the space? I think we're probably going to have to rename the podcast. In my view, I think maybe that gets renamed, or maybe we have NFT 365 once a week, and I have a separate show once a week talking more about AI, Web3 innovation, creator economy. We'll kind of see where that's going. But for me, it's kind of twofold. I love this brand. I love the community. I'm so thankful that I any of you that are still listening or sticking around, or maybe you're resubscribing now, right? You can press the subscribe on YouTube. You can press subscribe on whichever podcasting app you're listening to. But I will say this, and I'm gonna keep this one a little short. I get my joy. I get my what gets me up and excited each day is being able to share and help others win, right? And I've shared that before, but I want to make it very clear. Like for me, I take a lot on. Part of my ADHD is that I feel deeply, right? And I care probably more than it's probably good for my own mental health. But that's not changing. I can't change that. I just have to be better at regulating it, at maintaining my own space, my own personal ground. But there are some exciting things happening. We have SocialFi, the idea of decentralized social networks coming. We have things with AI being built in combination with crypto and having full tokenomics. We have this new idea of protocols allowing us to truly bring our content online, and that's something that I'm even thinking about here with the podcast. Is what if we changed up this model and we started to make it to where maybe, if you listen to a podcast episode, how can we reward you with airdrops and reward you with, things that would actually be a thank you, and kind of flip this whole model on its head. But I'm open to being creative. I'm open to some things. I know there's a couple people that are looking for me to co-host a show with them, or co-host an event, or maybe a new podcast with them. And so I'm going to keep everybody updated on that. But it's kind of, like I said, this my 11th or 12th time attempting to record this episode. I think this is the episode that I'm gonna post out today, a little bit later today, here on Leap Day. But I just wanted to say, thank you for everybody understanding and many of you supporting and reaching out to me. It was hard, and I'm gonna do a whole episode on like the mental health side of this and some of the things that I feel like I learned, and I'm still learning, and I'm not fully through a lot of the things that I had to deal with personally over the last 6 and 9 months, but that's okay. Nobody is perfect, and I just wanted to get this out there. And so maybe nobody listens, maybe everyone that subscribed, we were very close to a 2 million download mark, and to me it's not about the numbers. If I can impact a handful of people with each and every episode, then I will keep on keeping on and making this happen. So I want to say thank you for listening. Thank you for checking it out. If you have suggestions for guests, if there's projects that you want to check out, hit up the podcast Twitter account, NFT 365 podcast. That's still the podcast Twitter account. We'll be putting out some. It's just me now. I'll be putting out some content on there around this episode of the podcast and future episodes. And stay tuned. Hit that subscribe button. I will promise this. I'll do an episode at least within the week. So within the next 7 days, you'll get another episode of the podcast. And then we'll kind of go from there. I don't want to have to lock anything in, but I miss you guys. And I miss doing this show. And I miss the content, the community, the culture. And I miss, together growing, because we is greater than me. And I've said it forever that we can't be a part of a greater me, or a greater we, until you first invest in yourself and be the best me that you can be. And I think truthfully, I lost sight of that a little bit, and I ended up burning myself out. And so for anyone else that feels that, or for anyone else that feels overwhelmed, know you're not alone. Know that we are going to talk about that, more so here on the show, on the podcast, and on YouTube, and on wherever you're consuming this. But we are still just getting started. And thank you all for listening. Remember, show you care. Let people know that you appreciate them. The bar is really low, and the world we're living in right now, we need more people to care. And I care about each and every one of you, and I thank you for listening. Thank you for sticking with us through this journey. And we're going to have more updates on Mint 365. We'll have more updates on some of the future of the show. And this is fluid. We're going to ride this roller coaster again together, just like we did every single day from November 11th, 2021 to November 11th, 2022. And who knows? Maybe we'll do another daily show. Stay tuned. Cheers, my friends.